Hi, and thank you for giving us your time, Mr. Michael.
Welcome.
Today we're going to do a Q&A for level 11.
Cool.
So again, thank you. And we're going to have a mixture of questions, mainly collected by organizers that they thought the audience would like to understand.
Cool. All right.
Okay. Just as a reminder, the purpose of this is marketing. So for people to get the basic ideas that they would bring them more to the level.
Cool. All right.
So this time we're talking about level 11, growing time. Can you please start by telling us, explaining us the title, Growing Time?
Yeah, good. Well, as you know, we used to call the level time management. And then we were deciding that it was too boring. And it sounds like 100 other time management courses. And really, the most exciting thing about it is that we are growing more time. And it's like the day used to be 24 hours. And after you learn how to grow more time, maybe your day is 48 hours.
Can you please elaborate more on that? I know that in one of the life tools you talk about time bending or folding, as discovered by Einstein. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it was very exciting for me that as part of the research for this level, we were looking at how people like Einstein believed that time could be bent or made longer or shorter. And my experience with seeds is that if you manage your seeds right, you can actually slow down time, and you can have a lot more time when you want more time to get more things done.
So is it more of a feeling or actually more things getting done?
Yeah, I know what you mean. We're not talking about feeling like you have more time and not really having more time. We're talking more about how time stretches out when you want it to. Sometimes you don't want it to, but you can stretch time out, and then you can get a lot more done in the same amount of time. And I think it's important to say that you don't feel stressed out. It doesn't. You're getting more done in less time, but you feel even more relaxed than before.
Yeah. I know personally that you have used this a lot.
Yeah.
Can you share a story of how you use it and how this has actually given you more time?
Yeah, I always had, it's one of my goals in life to translate maybe a set of 30 of the great books of ancient Asia. And so I've been under time pressure my whole life, trying to finish that. I'm working on Stanley Chen's translation nowadays. I started that over 45 years ago. And so I feel this time pressure, about trying to finish it. And what I've done is I've used this level, I've used the time growing, and I've made enough time to really make progress on that work, for example. And this morning, I think I reached halfway. So in the last 3 weeks, I've done as much on that book as I did in 8 years before that, something like that. So the time is, less time seems like much longer time, and you can get a lot more done.
Okay, great, thank you. The next question is, we mentioned a lot about on this level that time is empty. Does that mean that we can see past or future or present? And can you tell us, how do you define the emptiness of time?
That's a great question. I think the emptiness of time means that, as with the pen, and today I was actually writing some additional tools for Dcig level 3, which is about, how to meditate really. And we were talking about in the new section of the manual, so we've increased the manual, we're talking about emptiness in that sense of emptiness. When you think of emptiness, you should really think of the pen and then think about how the pen is coming from seeds that you plant in your own mind. And then that determines, it's not just whether you see a long pen or a short pen or a fat pen or a skinny pen. It actually determines whether you see a pen or not. So the question of whether you have any experience of time or not is also a question of emptiness. Because things are empty, we are allowed to have a feeling that time is passing, and we're able to use time. Without emptiness, there is no time.
Wow. Okay. And is it important, or, well, first one, is it possible to see past and future? And second, is it important?
I think seeing the past, well, I always say that it's like we are living. So I visited San Diego with my friends, and we stayed in a hotel on the beach, and next door to the hotel, there was this big, house. Apparently it's very close to Bill Gates' house. And, we were playing, we went over to the house because it was for sale. And we said, just out of curiosity, how much is this house to buy? And I said, I think it was $20 million, just over $20 million. Yes. And we were all like, maybe next time, and, but can you imagine like buying this house on the beach in San Diego and then paying $20 million? And then, the real estate agent says, okay, it's yours. And you walk into the house and you go to a closet and you go into the closet and you put yourself in the closet and you close the door of this big, beautiful beach house. And you're stuck inside this little closet. And that's how life is if you don't know how to stretch time. You're stuck in a tiny closet called the present moment. And then, most people spend their life stuck in the present moment. They can't go anywhere out of that. And they never have the experience of stretching time or jumping to future times or jumping to past times. And I don't mean like in a science fiction sense, but I mean, if you've ever had a business, a complex business, and you wish you could go back in time a little bit and fix something you did, or you wish you could go ahead in time a little bit and see what's going on, what kind of strategy you should use. These are, I think, A, they're extremely useful skills. And then B, I think they're extremely fun. It's fun to suddenly someone let you out of the closet and you can walk around this big, beautiful house on the beach. It's like that. Yeah.
Wow. If we can go a little bit deeper on this one.
That's okay.
Some people might say that going to the past is just not being able to let go of things, and trying to be too much in the future is worrying needlessly. Yeah. But I get the feeling this is very different than that. Can you please tell us more?
Yeah, that's a great question, because oftentimes when we go to the past, it's because there's something unresolved, like we didn't solve a situation. We're still thinking a lot about it. Something we said or did 10 years ago or something like that. And then a lot of times when we think about the future, it's because it's dark there. We don't know what's coming. And then there's a lot of potential danger and worry there in the future. But instead of that, think of the past and the future as being the full light of day. And, there's something interesting and something fun and new things to find out. And whatever you find out in the future and whatever you find out in the past, it's also very enriching. It makes your life much more fun, much more productive. And instead of feeling like you are rehashing old problems or you're scared about the future, it's really just like that thing about getting out of the closet in the mansion on the beach and enjoying all the rooms in that place.
Yeah. Okay. The last question on this topic.
That's okay.
So this is something actually that is very interesting to me. So a lot of people say that time is kind of like a continuum. So if you go and change the past, then that would not necessarily change. Will that become your future? So it doesn't change your past, present.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Or
No, I don't think so. I know what I know what they're saying. Let's say I suddenly gain the ability to change the past,
right?
But I'm going to do that tomorrow. So really, I'm just changing the future. It's not like that. This is where you really gain the ability to go into the past and make adjustments that you want to make. Wow. And then you're able to go into the future and make adjustments that you would like to make. And again, I hate to say it, but it's like someone letting you out of the closet, and it's a sense of excitement and freedom and possibilities. You know, there's just endless possibilities. And I know it sounds strange, and I know it's not normal to talk about it.
Yes.
But if it happens to you, you will be addicted to it. You say, wow, I don't know why. I wish I had known about this earlier, because this is a nice way to live.
Yeah, I could see how this could have a very useful application.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have things that have really marked us in a negative way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Is it possible to rewrite that?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. If it was ever written, it can be rewritten. So that's just the principle of emptiness. You know, if the pen is coming from me, then time is coming from me. And if the pen is coming from me, and I mean, okay, I like a pen. I'm not against a pen. But if you told me I could make the pen any way I want, then I would try some different colors. Or I'd try different kinds of pens. And time is the same. You know, if time is coming from you, then you could make adjustments in time. And you could play with it. You could try some different pasts, and you could try some different futures. And again, it's like being let out of a closet, and all these possibilities open up. By the way, when you open up space, necessarily you open up, when you open up time, you necessarily open up space as well. So then the limitations of being in one place at one time are just completely removed. And then you're able to be in vastly different places at the same time. Like that.
Okay. And so I know that a lot of these ideas come from incredible books by people that have really, really achieved greatness.
Yeah.
At what stage? I mean, speaking in Dcig terms, what stage do we need to be able to even start to think of that possibility?
Yeah, you know, I don't think you have to be at this advanced stage, you know, where 1 out of 1 million people can do something and then other people can't do it. I think it would be hopeless to write a manual, to make a company, to teach all these teachers. If it was 1 person out of 1 million that could do it, then I don't think we would be doing DCI the way we're doing it now. The reason we have DCI courses like we have now, the reason why many people come, the reason why we do online and offline is that it's available to everybody. If you're a normal human being, if you have enough, you know, sense to put your clothes on in the morning and brush your teeth, then you have enough sense to learn to do these wonderful things. And I think partly it's just a lack of information. And once you share that information with anybody, they can pretty fast, they can start doing things that they never thought were possible.
Wow. Awesome.
I think otherwise we wouldn't have DCI, and we wouldn't spend all the, you know, we're all spending many, many hours spreading these DCI ideas. And if they were so strange, and if you had to wait 1 million years to do them, I don't, it's not like that. They're available to anyone who sincerely tries to understand them.
Great. Amazing. So the next question is, thank you, by the way. So if time is empty, does that mean that if we learn how to properly plant the seeds, we can create our own physical longevity, and can we use that also to increase the time we have with those we love, like our teachers, like our sons and daughters?
Yeah, I think ever since I've been going to Asia regularly for, I don't know, 30 years or something, people ask me this question about fate. Is my fate set? And if it's not set, how much work is it to change my fate? And I like to say there's wet cement and there's hard cement, And some seeds are very firm, like we planted them a long time ago. They are what I would call chronic habits, like alcoholism or addiction to tobacco. Some seeds are strong and old, and those are going to be harder to change. And then some seeds are like wet cement or something like that, and they're quite easy to change. But all objects, all things do come from seeds. So once you get some practice at using seeds, and once you get some practice at planting new seeds, I think what naturally happens is you get better at changing the seeds that were almost unchangeable. So then one of the most solid seeds in our life is our lifespan, and there's a traditional number, I think it's between like 60 and 200. We're in a time of humanity. We're in a time of this world where it's normal for people to live between, say, 60 and 120 or something. And even that is changeable. Even that is changeable. But it takes more skill, I think, and it takes more time. It takes more practice. So it is possible to overcome the limitations of aging and also of time itself. And I think it takes more practice. And I think once you start learning how to change your seeds, you feel pretty comfortable with trying to change those bigger seeds. And even those are changeable. Nothing's unchangeable. If it comes from me, nothing is unchangeable. Except the principle of seeds. That's enough.
So I think everybody has, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 people that are particularly special to them. I can think of Maju, for example, or you, or there's my sisters, people that have a very special connection, and I want to maximize. I understand that changing the seeds of lifespan is a lot harder. But what about the seeds of quality time with these special people in our lives? Is there a specific seed that what's the seed for?
I think there's a general overflow of seeds, and seeds impact on other seeds. I've been thinking about that a lot. This morning I was writing, as I mentioned, some new parts for level 3. And there's a phenomenon with seeds that, like if you make more bad seeds, they start to ripen each other. So, in one mind, like if you think of it as a bag and you keep throwing bad seeds in there, then not only do they grow at their own rate, but they interact and they support each other. It's a continuum, and they support each other. So there's mutual support with the types of seeds in your minds. If you get on a good roll, if you start planting more and more good seeds, each individual good seed will ripen at a certain rate. But if you throw more good seeds into this bag, then they start helping each other to grow faster and stronger. So it's an accelerating process. The more good seeds you create, the more good seeds those seeds create. and it's a self-sustaining, and it's almost a self-realizing thing. They start to help each other. So the more bad seeds you collect, the faster they also ripen, and then the more you're likely to plant. And the more good seeds you collect, the more good things in your life, like the ones in your life that you're most close to, the people that are most dear to you, naturally they will be with you longer, and also your interaction with them. The reason you want to be around them longer is because they make you happy now. And instead of having to worry that they might leave someday, you actually have new experiences with them that you never dreamed of. So the people you love, it's not just that they stay longer or they're with you more often or something like that. The reason you love them, the reasons you care for them will also increase. And then the love will get more and more deep than you expected. And so it's not so much that you have to worry that you will lose them. It's that you find deeper places in your relationship with each one of them that you didn't even guess about when you were worried about whether you would lose them or not. You see what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
What can people start doing if this is their goal? What's one concrete action that they could do?
Like my wife and I, we met each other about, I don't know, over 50 years ago. And of course, in my life, one of my main goals has been to be with my wife and to be deeper and deeper, have a deeper and deeper relationship. So it's hard to imagine a relationship that's 50 years old. And, you would think that you would be a little bit bored of a person after 50 years or something like that. But what actually happens if you're planting seeds all the time, by helping other people, then the relationship that you have with this one person, it gets more and more deep and more beautiful every day. So I think, again, it always goes back to helping other people to get what you would like to have in your own life. And I know it sounds probably boring after a while to hear Geshe Michael say, if you want to be longer with this person, if you want to go deeper with this person, then you're going to have to serve other people in some way, but it's really true. It really is true. And if you do serve people, amazing things happen. And I look at my country, for example, and I look at difficult things that are happening in my country, and then I feel sad about it because there's a reaction to difficult times, or that people get more selfish, or people are willing to cut off old traditions in my country of helping other countries, helping other people. And then it's distressing for a person, because you know that the reason a country is successful or prosperous is that they have always shared, and they've always made it a priority to share with strangers. And so I think that's a general seed principle, that if you want to guarantee that the good seeds you have and the good things in your life continue, you actually have no choice. You have to look at the other people around you who are not happy or who don't have what they need, and you have to take an interest in them, and you have to make it a big part of your life to help them.
Thank you. Yeah. I know this question has nothing to do with level, but it is very pressing.
Yeah,
because I think the whether we like it or not, the US has a big impact in the world.
Yeah.
Given everything that is happening right now, tariffs,
all kinds of
taking the
cutting off
department-
foreign aid.
trying to dismantle the Department of Education, all these things that seem to go actually the opposite to the seed system.
Yeah.
What seeds can we do as seed practitioners to counteract this as fast as possible?
Yeah. I really do think, we all know in our heart what's the way to change things in the world, and it's to keep planting seeds personally, in the end. So I was very active when I was 20, I was very active against war, and I was working very hard against the war. And it took me, I don't know, these last 50 years to really appreciate how to help stop war, how to help prevent war in the world. And it's a personal process. It's not necessarily a political process. I think you have to stamp out violence in your own heart. And that's how you affect the pen, is by changing your own seeds. So I think the great thing about that is that increasing peace in the world, increasing prosperity in the world is always a result of personal generosity and personal sharing what we have with other people. And the reaction, I think, of a well-educated human being is that when things get tight, or when people are being less generous and people are even being violent, that I think the people who understand seeds, we have to understand that it's coming from us. We have to. And then we have to keep doing the opposite as well as we can. We have to protest violence by being even less violent in our own minds and less violent in our own actions. And so I think paradoxically, people who understand seeds get softer and more generous when things get harder on the outside. And because the outside keeps reminding them that they're not finished with their seeds yet.
Right.
Like that.
Oh, I have a lot of work to do.
We all do.
Okay. So going back to the level. So what makes, thank you, by the way. I think,
Yeah, I think the reaction to bad times is to be a better and better person. And that's what we do.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So talking about level 11, can you tell us what makes this approach? Most of us that have taken it, we know that it's very different. But for someone who has never taken this course, how different this is from a normal time management course.
Yeah. I have a friend, as you know, Scott Vesic, who was a vice president for Dcig, who took we used to sit and talk about this a lot, because he took a good time management course called the Franklin Institute, I think. And they had methods of, saving time or managing your time, organizing your time. And it was very much this kind of emphasis. And I learned a lot from those methods, and they were interesting to me. Like organizing your day better, or keeping track of what you have to do better, prioritizing your lists in a more effective way. I learned a lot, and I gained some things from that. But this approach is 100% different. It has nothing to do with just making lists and switching the lists around and, getting up earlier and writing more lists or something like that. It's completely different. We're talking about time itself being like clay, and being able to change the time and move the time and making time flexible, and stretching it out literally, not as it's not the point that we feel like we have more time and we don't really have more time. That's not the point. The point is that you stretch time and then you really do have more time. And then you also feel like you have more time, and then you can get more things done. And again, advanced level 5, which is coming up soon. And that's a whole exploration of how does it feel to succeed in stretching time? How does it feel personally? How does it feel to be successful and know how to be successful and manipulate events and manipulate time in a good way? And that, what's it feel like? There's a kind of joy that comes from not being limited anymore, to be unlimited, to be released from your limitations and to be able to do amazing things that you never dreamed of. Then that, how does that feel emotionally? That's advanced level 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the next question is, I know that for you, this idea of the malleability of time,
Good. Yeah.
it's almost second nature.
Yeah.
But for most of us, I don't know, I think of, you get 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That is immutable. That doesn't change. Yeah. What advice would you have to get from here to here, to start to really open your mind to this idea of time really being manipulable?
Yeah. We had a group of the organizers for DCI, including Wangsha, Max Wu, Tina Liu, and people, Jenny, Jasmine, Vivian, people, the major organizers we have, they came to me and they said, is there anything you can add to level 3, which is basically how to meditate? Because we wondered if you could describe a perfect, a perfect circle day. And what would you do on a circle day? I call it a diamond circle day. So if you had a circle day and you wanted to dedicate it to understanding emptiness, if you wanted to dedicate it to touching the diamond world, then what would that kind of circle day look like? What would that feel like? And I think one of the suggestions I have is to swim in seed literature or seed wisdom, like take a swim every day. I have a granddaughter. I spent the last 4 days with my granddaughter in a city which is 4 hours from here. And she loves to go to the swimming pool, and she's 2.5. She jumps in the swimming pool, and she loves to jump in there, and that's what it feels like when you jump into the ancient wisdom of seeds. And I've been thinking about it recently, that one of the cool things about that swimming pool called the ancient literature is that I've realized it doesn't matter where you jump in. You know what I mean? Like you can jump in 2,000 years ago, or you can jump in 1,000 years ago, or you can jump in 500 years ago. You can jump in anywhere. You can jump into any topic. And in the end, they will all teach you about seeds. And in Asia, they call it chewing on the ball of brown sugar. And it doesn't matter if you have one of these traditional, so they don't have powdered white sugar. They have raw, unprocessed sugar, which is a syrup that has hardened into like a clay. And they give pieces of that to kids. And the kids enjoy it because it doesn't matter where you bite it. There's no top, there's no bottom, there's no left side, there's no right side. It doesn't matter where you bite this ball. you get the same unbelievable brown sugar taste. I guess it's raw, just raw, unprocessed sugar. And the great wisdom, the great books are like that. It doesn't matter where you bite it. You will learn something new about seeds. And by the end of that day, you'll be making better seeds. And then if you keep doing that, it just keeps multiplying on itself. So it gets more and more fun, more and more exciting. You can't waste time with those things. You just get a more amazing life every day. And then that becomes kind of strange, because what's it feel like to make amazing more amazing? If you multiply amazing on amazing, then what's that feel like? And I think most of us can't even imagine what that feels like. And it's exciting. In advanced level 5, we have 12 different levels of amazing feeling, and that's really cool, I think. Yeah.
We get this question we get a lot.
Okay.
It seems that advanced level 4 and level 11, advanced level 4 of doubling your productivity and level 11 growing time are tightly related.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what are the differences that you see in why creating two different courses that are similar?
Yeah, good. Advanced level 4 was kind of a personal discovery. So if you go through the courses one by one, you don't have to study them perfectly. You don't have to do them perfectly. You don't have to come to all the classes perfectly. But if you just kind of in a relaxed way, you work your way through each of the DCI levels, then you start to pile up good habits. And I think for me, advanced level 4 and specifically the Good Night Book Club was kind of a personal breakthrough. So good seeds built on good seeds, built on good seeds, built on good seeds. And then suddenly, and I think it's that the greatest ideas in life are often the most simple ones. And, it doesn't sound like a genius idea to manage your time better, to get 8 hours of sleep. And in fact, it's been very frustrating the last year since I've been doing this Good Night Book Club thing myself and having the personal experience of, I would say, tripling my productivity. I've done 4 major books in the last few months. Yes. And, to feel how that feels. And then as I mentioned, I was traveling this last few days and I saw some family members and I was like, well, you got to try this. You can't believe it. You have to really try it. And then they weren't ready for it. They thought I was just being weird or something. They didn't think there was anything. I gave up trying to talk about it because they just couldn't hear it, So I think the DCI levels build in a way that the earlier levels help your ears open more. And then you're ready for the later levels. I don't think you can just skip from one level and then skip 10 levels and take, advanced level 4 or something and expect to absorb it all, to digest it all. I think they all do go together. I don't mean that you're not allowed to come to advanced level 4 if you didn't do level 11, for example. But if you do advanced level 4 and then you do 11 or you start working on them together, you will find that they support each other. And advanced level 4, after you take foundation level 11, is a great next step. And I think that's one of the cool things about the DCI curriculum. People ask me, well, how many levels are there going to be? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't see why we have to stop. There's always deeper places you can go. And I think for me, it's when something is so deep that you can keep going deeper, indefinitely, to me, it's extremely satisfying. And that's how the Dcig levels are.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for creating these levels.
It's just passing on what I learned.
Yeah. It's, well, as a translator, I can see how this has been done for ages, and it's amazing to witness it in the flesh.
Yeah.
So thank you.
We're lucky.
Yeah. All right. The next big topic is procrastination and poor time management skills. So, for those of us who tend to procrastinate a lot, how can level 11 help us avoid procrastination?
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny answer, and it's kind of unusual answer, but recently DCI had a chance. You and I had a chance. We met Marie Kondo in Japan, and we had a chance to give a talk with her. And so we had a chance to get to know her and, try to understand her system a little better. I saw her videos on Netflix years ago, and it sounded okay. And I me and my wife were trying to think of something to watch at night. And we thought, well, we'll watch that one. And I watched it and I understood it and I thought it was nice. And then I didn't do it, And then when I actually had a chance to give a talk with her, and when you give a talk with somebody for 2 hours or something, in my opinion, you should focus on what they're saying so you can say something intelligent about what they said. And so I was focusing really hard on her, and I was trying to understand what she was saying. And then somehow I had a satori, I had a sudden insight into, she's talking about making your life, she's intensely interested in a thing that she calls the spark, and I heard her use the word, but I didn't really understand what she was talking about. But and I gave online talk with her, I don't know, last year or something. But to be with her in person and be next to her and hear her with her whole body, she's talking about this spark. And then you realize that her way of keeping her house in order, neat, so that her life is in order and her mind is in order, creates some kind of a spark, you see? And when you procrastinate, when you have things that you're supposed to do and you don't do them, then I think it somehow prevents this spark. Your life becomes somehow cluttered and you don't reach this sense of simplicity. Simplicity in the course of your life means you do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it.
Right.
And it's like you don't leave your house dirty and then leave the house. You don't go to work. I don't personally feel comfortable to go to work until I wash the dishes. And one of the worst feelings is to come home and there's a whole sink full of dishes, and dirty dishes. And I think procrastination is similar. I think when you have tasks that you've agreed to do, and oftentimes with me, they're tasks that I decided were important and I created them. And then if I don't do them, it's like having a house full of dirty dishes piled up. I have a friend who was, their mother had a small house, and she would eat takeout food for lunch every day. And when she would save half of it and bring it home for dinner, but she would eat it and then she would put the takeout dishes in the kitchen and never clean them. and never throw them out. And when you went to this person's house, the kitchen was stacked with old takeout containers, like 100 or 200 or 300, And I used to go over there and just sneak in the kitchen and clean it up, because it was so. It was difficult to think clearly in that house. So I think procrastination is the same. It's like stacking old takeout dishes in your kitchen, and then sooner or later you got piles of old things that you were going to do, and they're not done, and they're just stacked in the house. They smell funny, and they feel uncomfortable to me. It just feels uncomfortable. So I think a Marie Kondo type of simplicity, which is achieved by doing what you say you're going to do. And that, there's always some cleanup to do. If you're in a rush and you got to go to work and there's some dishes there, you can leave them until the evening. It's better than getting to work late. But in the end, if you can just schedule your life so that you don't have half-finished junk laying around,
right.
Then I think you get a spark that comes from everything being simple and clean. And so I think for me, I tried to think of procrastination as a dirty house or something like that, an untidy house. And then if you don't like it and you decide that being in a house of sparks would be more fun, I think you're more likely to not promise to do things you can't do. Yeah. Then because that's the root cause of procrastination, usually.
Overcommitting, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yes. Going a little bit deeper on this, I know there's an old concept called joyful effort that I don't know what's the current definition, but I know I used to define it as enjoying doing hard work or enjoying doing things that help people.
Yeah.
I know a lot of us in the seed system, we know what those things are and we manage to do it, but without that joy, that spark, what specific thing can people start doing to be able to do those things joyfully?
There's a famous book from 1,300 years ago called Guide to the Warrior's Way of Life, and by Master Shantideva. And so it was so important, and my teacher taught it so often that I thought I would like to memorize it. And he was on the chapter called Joyful Effort. And so I tried to memorize it, and I got pretty far into it. The opening line is Tsunkang Gela Tro O, means real effort is to enjoy helping other people. And so he would say that we had a neighbor the guy next door, and it was a poor neighborhood. We lived in a very poor neighborhood. And I don't know, poor people, I think, because of poverty, they feel like they want to keep things. So they keep all kinds of junk on their property. This guy had like 12 cars on his property. Broken cars, hopeless cars. He would never fix them, And but he would spend all day banging on them and, trying to fix an old car for 2, 3, 4 years, And then I remember when we reached this chapter, and my teacher said, "Does the guy next door work hard?"
Right.
And I'm like, "God, yeah, he's out there banging on cars all day, And he says, and then he said, "No, he doesn't have Tsunkang Gela Tro." And I said, "Why?" And he says, "He's not helping anybody. He's not doing it because he wants to help somebody else. He thinks he might make some money or something like that, but he's not working that hard to be of service to other people." So I think there's a big feeling in the ancient books that hard work working with great labor or great effort always involves taking joy in helping other people. And then that somehow qualifies it as hard work. You see what I mean? And then every other kind of hard work is basically just wasting your time. So if you're working to the top capacity, but somehow doing something to help somebody else, then that's real hard work. That's the meaning of hard work. Hard work should be work which is ultimately aimed at helping other people. Yeah.
Would you go as far as saying that if you think you're working to help people, but some parts of that are not enjoyable, then those parts are not helping people?
That's a good question. I do believe that if you're trying to help others and you're not, if you don't feel maximum enjoyment or something like that, yeah, you are helping people less than you could. But the cool thing about seeds is that the more you try to make good seeds, the more the new good seeds you make help the old good seeds be real good seeds. So I think the process of serving other people is self-fulfilling somehow. Like you're not very good at it at first, you make mistakes, probably a lot of the help ends up hurting someone or something like that. But the continued effort to be of service to other people, I think inevitably it builds on itself exponentially. And then enjoyment, somehow that's deeply tied up with enjoyment. Maybe it's true that there is no true enjoyment if you're selfish. You know, maybe that's the point. You know, the less selfish you can be, the more enjoyment you have.
Right. So it's not really about the task itself.
Yeah, it's how much. It's really the intention, and
yes,
oftentimes we think we're doing something to help other people. Maybe we're not doing it very well, but the intention purifies the action. Yeah, and then it gets more effective. Yeah, it becomes more effective. Yeah.
Talking about time management, you know, it's work and personal life, projects and personal relationships are empty, right? So how can we work to find that perfect balance of work and personal? And more important, how can we make both of it, all of it, our way to really help the world?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's the dichotomy, it's the division between this is my personal life and this is my work. I have an instinct that when the dichotomy in your mind is sharp and my work and my personal life are very separated, I think that's a sign that neither one is going very well. And I think in time, if you understand seeds and you try to work hard to make good seeds, then I think the distinction between your personal life and your work life gets blurred. And your work life becomes, if your work life is dedicated to helping other people, it becomes more personal. And if your personal life is managed well, it becomes more like work in a sense. So I think in time, if you learn a lot more about growing time or managing time in this way, I think the distinction between your work life and your personal life will start to blur. And you'll be using the skills that you learned for your work life in your personal life, and you'll be using the feelings that are engendered in your personal life, you take them over to your work life. So they start to mix. I don't mean you come home and start telling your wife, you know, about your next project that you have to finish or something like that, because that doesn't work out usually. But I am saying that it all becomes one attempt to serve other people, and in that sense, the service part is each one is the same. So there's a continuity between the two parts of your life, and you lose this distinction between them, and then you're not fighting to decide how much time you're going to spend on each one, because they join together.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
How do what seeds are good to plant in order for, I guess it's a feeling, right? To have the feeling that you're having a good balance, or is there that there's an actual balance that,
Yeah, I think it's the attitude that you use to do your work and the attitude you use in your family life. Mm-hmm. If you have a good attitude at work, if you have a seed planting attitude, much of your work will be focused on helping other people. And then when you get home, you get much more helpful. It's a pleasure to be around you, because you're really nosy and you're poking into your partner, your family's life, and seeing how you can make it easier anonymously. So, suddenly the dishes are done. Nobody knows who did them. And, everyday household, hard, dirty jobs, you eat them up without making a big announcement. And then it's nice to be around you, because dishes get washed around you, dinners get cooked around you, house gets cleaned around you, and people get addicted to you because you're taking care of so many things for people, and it's just nice to be around you. So I think those attitudes you learn and you practice in your work life. And then when you get home and use the same ones that you practiced in your work life, it makes your family life go very smooth.
I think there's only one last time for one last question.
Okay.
In your ideal world, in your plan, not ideal world, in the plan that you had of creating this level, what's your vision for practicing this level?
I with most levels, I feel like if the level is successful, then my friends and the people who take the level will use it, and their life will be more successful and more happy. And then I enjoy being around those people, because people who are successful and people who know how to make seeds and use seeds, because their life is more successful, they're also grateful. And then my personal life is just my circle of people who are having a good life expands. This morning I was reviewing one of our directors. So we have 42 different organizations, and I finished today. It took me 2 months to finish reviewing everybody. It's almost time to start next year. And but I was thinking, it's a it's a self-happiness creation, that when you help others, then you're surrounded by more happy people, and then you become more happy, because the layers of happy people around you are accreting. They're getting more and more and more. And so I think that's that's my personal experience. If you are helping other people through DCI to improve their life, they will. And then they will start helping other people improve their life. And this morning, the enjoyable parts of my morning was to listen to this person talk about how they're going to help more people, and then that becomes sort of like an epidemic, and then that's for me, that's very satisfying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
and appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
We'll see you.
Thank you for running DCI and taking all this trouble off my head.
Thank you.
Thank you.